Easy pie crust. Well, the ratio to make a pie crust is a ratio of 1 to 3. So I'm going to make a 10-inch 2-crust pie. So I'm going to use 3 cups of flour, 1 cup of shortening. It can be either butter flavored Crisco, which is wonderful, or it can be regular big Crisco, which is great, whichever you like to prefer the taste to. Or it can be not a name brand vegetable shortening, but anything in the shortening line. It can even be margarine if you want to, but I like the butter flavored Crisco, gives it a nice texture. Now, so first of all, I'm going to put 3 cups of flour, all-purpose flour. I didn't have my bread flour this time, so all-purpose. 1, 2. Notice you don't have to measure that exact. 3. Nothing is exact in cooking. Our grandmothers and grandfathers didn't have exact cooking. So there's my 3 flour. Then with this, I'll put in, let me get a big spoon here to start with. Butter flavor Crisco, it just adds a nice flavor. Stick it in there. The important thing with Crisco, with shortening and making pie crust, is you don't touch it with your hands. As soon as your hands touch it, then the warmth from your hands starts making the shortening melt, react, and then you'll get a tough pie crust. So the whole point is to keep it totally, don't touch it. Put the shortening in there, and the most important, one of the most important tools in your kitchen is cutter. See little kinds? So you're just going to cut this in until it becomes little beads. Now you can do it like this, pushing it like this, shredding it off of there. I find that the easiest way to do it. Pick up some flour, shred it off. Pick up some flour, shred it off. Flour, shred it off. So that it combines. If my hands are not touching it, I'm making, just make sure all, when it's shredded off there, shred it off. I don't use any salt. I don't use salt in any of my cooking, any extra salt, because I just don't need it. Okay. And keep doing that until now, until it's shredded off there. Then you go up and down. And these little tines make it blend in, so it kind of looks like lumpy oatmeal. Okay, lumpy oatmeal. Some people use butter along with shortening, but butter doesn't seem to make it as flaky. Alright, now that looks pretty good. See, it's like kind of lumpy-ish oatmeal. From here, I can't tell you how much to add for water, but I've got water in ice cubes. It has to be very cold, okay? So now I'm going to ice water. I'm going to put, this is probably about, I'm starting out with to here, probably 3/4 of a cup. And I'm going to pour some in through my finger so I don't get the ice in there. Nice and cold. And then I start working it in. Not touching it with my hands whatsoever. Okay? Add some more. Some recipes say 5 tablespoons. No, you really can't do that. You can't. You have to judge. You have to judge by the consistency and the texture of it. It's nice and cold still. Just keep going up and down with that. Pushing it off of there with your finger if you have to, or with a knife. A little more water in there. And you don't want it mushy. You just want it sticking together like Play-Doh. Here we go with the Play-Doh again. Okay, so it's got to be like a Play-Doh. Okay, it's getting pretty good. See, it's getting pretty good like a Play-Doh. And it's getting hard. Now, if you don't have enough water in it, it will split on you when you roll it out. Because when you roll it out, you're going to be putting more flour down. You feel the consistency. It's soft and mushy, which is nice but not soggy. That's a good consistency, okay? Okay. Very nice. And it's still nice and cold. Okay, so nothing's happened to it yet. Okay, next. Now, we take some flour and this is a 2 pie crust. So now I'm going to touch it with my hands. I'm going to cut it in half here. Grab half of it. Now, just for the moment, I can grab a bunch with my hands, ball it up into a ball. I can feel it's cold, and I'm going to put it down. Okay? Set that aside because that's the top crust. A little more flour. Push it down, push it down, push it down. Now I take my nice heavy roll. Now this is love it. It's heavy. It's cold because it's marble, and this is granite. So everything's cold and keeps it nice and cold. Bang it out like this on either side. And flip it over, put some flour under there. And start rolling it out. Push, push, push and roll. Push and roll. Push and roll, push and roll. Push and roll. Get along the edges because that's where builds up the, oops, little hole. That's okay. Push and roll. Now that's about enough for a bottom of a 10-inch pan. 10-inch glass pie pan. And it's nice and thin. It's probably as thin as 3 pennies. 2 pennies stacked up. That's all I can tell you. I can almost see through it. You don't want a thick crust, especially on the bottom, because on the bottom it won't cook. You'll get that nasty pasty thing. So now you take it here. You can take it with your fingers now and you roll it up like that. Get that over there. Now, bring the pie pan here. Pick it up. Put it in there. Roll it out. Now, it doesn't look very pretty yet. Now you want to make sure it's all in there. Push it in with your fingers. Now where there's little spots, you can press them in like that. Trim off the excess here on the edge. It's still cool, so it's nice. Nice and thin. Where you need to put some extra here, patch it in. Nobody will know the difference. It tastes wonderful. Back in a bowl. Patch it in a little bit. Patch it in. Push it down there. There we go. Because this is the bottom crust, so this is not that. Now, perfect. Now, if you wanted, there's it is. Now, if you wanted to make it and make it like for a banana cream pie or chocolate cream pie, and you want to bake this now, what you'd do is you'd flute the edges like this with your fingers. You can do it now with your fingers. Just turn it under like that. Push it, and then you'd put holes in the bottom of it with a fork, so that when the shortening bubbles up, you don't have these big bubbles in the bottom. So you could do that with a fork right now. But I'm going to use this for an apple pie. So that's how you make a pie crust. Easy.